Hi, I'm Rabbi Shmuel Pollan, and welcome to the Light Unto the Nations show. This video is called The Solution to Everything, and I intend to deliver. Heck, I'll just tell you the solution right now. It's God. No, not the God you're thinking of. Not a Greek God, a Buddhist God, or even a Christian or Jewish God. The real God. The God that unites everyone instead of separating them. The provable God as well. Scientifically. And the God who provides the answers to every problem we face today. So atheists, you might want to stick around, because we're not even going to call this entity God. We're generally going to call this entity the upper unity. But if such an entity exists, below the description will be a link to a video I made about 25 proofs that God exists. You will see when you watch that video that this God is provable and proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. If not, just leave your objections to the video in the comments and I'll set you straight. Most of you will never go and see the video, which means I have this one chance to prove to you that God or the upper unity exists. After all, how can God solve all our problems if we don't even know that He exists? So let me give you the 2-minute recap. The first proof I lay out is called the particle accelerator proof. If you walk into a room and look around, and you see there is a particle accelerator there, what would you conclude about the origins of that machine? At the very least, you would know that it had a creator, and it didn't create itself. You would know that the creator had tremendous intelligence. After all, we know a particle accelerator is one of the most innovative inventions of all time. It's way too perfect to have been just blown together by some explosion. We know for sure an intelligent creator made this. It's a fact. Now let's turn the accelerator on and look at the atom inside the particle accelerator. Let's address the same issues. What are the origins of this atom? Did it have a creator? Well, if the particle accelerator had a creator, and an atom would be even harder to create, then of course the atom had a creator. That's called in logic a fortiori. It means that if something has a certain characteristic because it's got one thing, how much more so will another thing have that characteristic when it's got 10 of those things? The atom does feats man can only dream of doing. It has electrons which rotate around the protons and neutrons at 70 quadrillion revolutions per second. No man can replicate those speeds. And yet, even at those speeds, the thing is totally stable. It even joins perfectly with the atoms around it, and the electrons never collide with each other, causing a nuclear explosion. Trillions of these flying atoms come together to create something as ordinary as a pencil. This is a feat far greater than the greatest particle accelerator. Therefore, it must have an even more perfect creator, a fortiori. And that's what I'm calling God. Nothing religious about it. It's just a simple recognition that if we can make something great, something greater than us must be made by a greater being than us. Here's the kicker. Since all of existence is made of atoms, and we know now that atoms are created by a super being, all of reality is proof that God exists. The second proof is the Sinai proof, because the first proof will make you into a deist, i.e. someone who believes in God, but doesn't necessarily believe He really cares what we do. This next proof will show you that God is a deity that actually is involved with His creation, and what we do matters greatly to Him. How do we know this? Because it's part of history. Establishing history often has to do with archaeological digs and ancient writings. But even that type of history relies on witnesses. Despite what your science museum will tell you, you've never actually seen a dinosaur bone. That stuff is kept under lock and key. So we are relying on witnesses to tell us what they look like. And that's the point I wish to make. All of history comes from witnesses. Some testimony is really good, other testimony is really bad. There are many, many ways to make a decision about whether we should accept this testimony. Could they have been there? How many witnesses were there? Did they see them all at the same time? Did they do anything differently after seeing that site? And so on. Well, an event was allegedly witnessed in the year 1312 BCE in the Sinai Desert. And I'm here to tell you that that testimony was of the highest quality of any event in history, and you'd be crazy not to accept it. In every single Jewish family, the witness nation, there was a testimony that was handed down from father to son, mother to daughter, that God revealed himself and gave us the 10 Commandments. That's 14.4 million people who have someone in their family who bought into this idea that this happened. On that date, to every single Jew, which was roughly 3 million Jews, it's a big claim that 3 million people saw God all together, from philosophers to beggars. Most religions don't even claim to have seen God, but rather rely on miracles supposedly done before a handful of people. The Jews at Sinai completely changed their lives from that day forward. 316 difficult, restrictive commandments were accepted by them on that day. There is not a minute that goes by that we aren't governed by one of these laws. The Jews gave their lives away on that day, and would they really do that if they didn't fully believe that they were hearing from the true God? Many Jews recount the testimony of Sinai every single day in their prayers, just to keep it fresh. If this didn't happen, and it was some kind of conspiracy, well, I can understand someone telling me that they saw something they saw, but to tell me that I saw something that I really didn't see, well, that's not gonna fly. So claims of a conspiracy are eliminated. The sheer number of people who claim to have seen it with such conviction and with such consensus, the magnitude of the claim and the fact that they are all transformed their lives because of it, makes Sinai just about the strongest case for accepted witness testimony of anything I can think of. So there you go. God exists, he's powerful, and he's intelligent, and he wants something of us. He wants us all to keep the 10 Commandments. And those laws, it turns out, history has shown, have been basically the same laws that keep civilization intact. They, in fact, are the solution to everything. And that brings us to this video. The God we've proven exists as creator is the solution to everything, up to and including the conflict between the left wing, the right wing, the conflict between the blacks and the whites, addiction, adultery, anxiety, transgender, China, and so much more. Let's begin with an analogy which will teach us why we call God the upper unity. Imagine there are two boxers. They are blooding each other up, beating the heck out of each other. But there is a third boxer, and he's way up in the rafters, and he's many times the size of both those boxers combined. Much like in the WWE TV shows, he rips off his suit and tie and gets into the ring. He, of course, dominates. But things are different now. He has a different vibe. He fights hard. He plays by the rules. But he sees the fight less like a fight and more like a dance. He's enjoying himself, and that makes the other boxers enjoy themselves too. All the boxers are now moving on beat, in harmony, and the players and the crowd are all loving it. People forget about the bets they have placed and instead just enjoy the beauty of a great match. The first boxer is what we'll call finity. The second boxer is what we'll call infinity. And the third is a boxer which we'll call the upper unity. I'm here to tell you that every debate you've ever been in, and every debate the government has had between nations, is a boxing match between finity and infinity. And what you'll get in this video is the third boxer. And what we have in the end is a beautiful dance instead of a debate. This is the ultimate red pill. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You will never want to fight with that person again. You will enjoy working with that person, and it will be a beautiful thing. Let's begin with the debate we've already kicked off. Atheists versus theists. Atheists say that there is no God and science can explain everything. And theists say that there is a God, and if anything, science proves it. So what do we have here? We have the triangle. We have the right point, infinity, and the left point, finity, and God, or the upper unity, which unites them both at the top of the triangle. So who would you say in this debate is being more emotional and who is being more rational? At first glance, this debate presents itself with atheists being the rational scientific people who want to live in reality and not fantasy or dogma. They mock those who don't. So they question or outright reject all miracle stories and reject a God based on morality, saying we can figure out morality on our own and religious people haven't proven to be any more moral than us anyway. Theists present as the more emotionally driven ones. They want to believe there is a God because it gives them comfort, direction, meaning, and the chance at a really amazing afterlife. And they are not going to sacrifice all of that just because it might not make total sense. And why should they? Comfort and meaning and purpose are extremely important. They make life better. So here we have the left and the right both making great points. But when they debate, they become further apart, and the issue is so sensitive, a lot of theists and atheists won't even talk to each other, even in the same family. So what does the upper unity tell us? The top of the triangle, the third boxer, the unification of finite and infinite. It unites the two. It unites the two perspectives and says you can have your cake and eat it too. They don't actually contradict. They actually dance with each other. Atheists need meaning too. They would like comfort. They're just not willing to sacrifice their intellect to get there. Theists need logic. They don't like to lose debates. They don't like it when their opinion seems to be on shaky ground. So why don't atheists preach logic and theists teach atheists about meaning? There is no contradiction because both parties just want a more fulfilled life. One gets there mainly through logic, one gets there mainly through emotion. You need intellect and emotion to experience the full palette of life. The upper unity says that if you are to be fully functioning, you need intellect and emotion. And when you combine them, you will find that they actually strengthen each other. Always look what you can learn from the other party, and your life will go from being a life to becoming a dance. Should they stop debating? Absolutely not. But debate knowing you're on the same team. You're both seeking to be a full man or a full woman who can dance between their emotions and logic. He's trying to bring out an emotion you badly need, and he's trying to bring out a logical argument that you badly crave. In a broken world, the finite one thinks his job is to debunk the infinite one. In a messianic world, a world of dance, a finite and infinite seek fulfillment, and said another way, they're both after the truth. Why should you do differently in the light of this distinction? Atheists make arguments that actually support theists, and theists make arguments that actually support atheists. And they come closer and closer together until they unite in love. The atheist's deeper knowledge of the universe should result in the knowledge that they know more than anyone knows that the fine-tuning of the universe couldn't have been an accident. That's sort of what I did above. I made two arguments from the upper unity using science to prove God, using logic to create emotion. Theists should teach atheists about emotion and purpose and meaning because that's what they're missing. And in the end, you will wind up with just one opinion where both parties get what they were missing. Debates are there to make that unity even stronger. Let's go on to the next biggest, most controversial topic, the left wing and the right wing of politics. How big is this debate? I can't even wrap my mind around it. It's in every country, and it's been in every country for thousands of years. If you're on the left or on the right, you've pretty well mapped out your course in life because everything will change whether you're one or the other. So let's break down this with our triangle. On the left, we have the left wing and the infinite wing, which is the wing of change or progress, and it's the wing of constantly making things better, making things more fair. They prioritize the group over the individual. On the right, with the finite wing, we have conservatives who stand for statistics and logic. They're always putting a check on the infinite wing and saying, hold on, that isn't going to work. Because they don't consider progress a virtue. Rather, they say, let's keep the government small and change it as little as possible because the country of the past is inherently better than the country that is out of control. They prioritize the individual over the group. Government should keep its mittens off the economy, they say, so that the economy can grow naturally instead of trying to redistribute resources, which would level the playing field. Who is wrong? Who is right? According to the upper unity, they are both right, and they are just blooding each other up instead of dancing together as one. The upper unity says both parties are the same. The shared goal is they want a better country, and they want to increase the quality of life for all people. In philosophy, the question is, do we make people's lives better with progress or by preserving the values that came before us? The answer is both. You want to preserve only those things that made us better and toss the stuff that doesn't make us better. The left will teach you what things need to be tossed. The right will teach you what things need to be preserved and how to make our dreams possible. Conservatives are always debunking the left. And what happens when it's debunked? Nothing. You've just made people mad. Instead of debunking, the right should be helping, because the left always has bold initiatives and they want to spend a lot of money, infinite amounts of money. So the conservatives, acting as the intellect in this case, should be coming up with ways we can do that practically. They work together, not against each other. You just need to change your perspective, because the left is the ideal and the right is how we actually make it pan out. Take gun control for an example. The left wants all guns gone. No guns, no gun violence. Simple. That's a progressive idea. The right will debunk this and say that there are more stabbings in countries with no guns, and after all, how will we be able to stop a tyrannical government without guns? So the left has the ideal and the right is debunking. Instead of debunking, they should be coming up with solutions. It's not my job in this video to come up with the actual solutions. Sometimes I will, but mostly I'm giving you the upper unity, which means I'm giving you the path out of the problem. It's up to all of us to figure out how exactly to walk that path. Imagine the right was the solution-oriented one instead of the debunking-oriented one. The conservatives are practical people. They can come up with practical ways to bring down stabbings and stop a tyrannical government from forming without guns. If you put your heads together, you will come up with something. See how the left and right don't contradict? They dance. The left tells you where we should land, up, and the right tells you the directions how to get there. Take any issue, the $15 minimum wage, food stamps, lower taxes, strong military, isolationism versus patriotism, stopping inflation. In each of these issues, the ideal is right on. We would all love a $15 minimum wage. We would all love to collaborate with China, but it's not going to work. So if it's not going to work, both of you need to put your heads together and creatively think of why it's not going to work and how to make it work anyway. Maybe our relationship with China should be a double-edged sword. We trade when it's good for our team, but you offer incentives of even better trade if they let up their aggressive stance. Maybe a flat tax is a way to cut taxes and still increase revenue, because even the 1% is going to pay their fair share. Maybe we just need to pierce the corporate veil of these billionaires and make them pay their 20% or whatever the two sides decide. But when they argue about a tax rate, and they should argue, the boxing match doesn't stop. But it's realizing that no matter what number you choose, it's a little conservative and it's a little liberal. It's all relative. 20% is more liberal than 21%, and 20% is more conservative than 19%. You're all on the same team, hopefully trying to pick the number that does the most good for everyone. This unification of the right and the left happens when both sides compromise and pick a number. But there is no need for fighting. In the end, when you do this, you will wind up with the most fair, progressive country, which also holds fast to what we must hold dear and comes up with solutions that make the ideal practical. There is no conflict. There never was. It just took the third boxer to show us that. There's a debate raging between the left and the right about reparations. Should today's whites have to pay African Americans for wrongs committed by their ancestors? The Jews got reparations from the Germans for what the Nazis did. Why shouldn't blacks get reparations from the whites for what the whites did? This again is a simple infinite and finite debate, also known as a group versus the individual debate. If you're against reparations, you believe everyone is an individual and no individual is responsible for the other. If you're for reparations, you believe we are a bunch of groups and each group is responsible to the other group. So do we want to be individuals or do we want to be groups? What does the upper unity say about that? Both. We are both groups and individuals because groups are made up of individuals. Can we ignore the fact that we're groups? No. Which is why there should be reparations. But as individuals, we should not have to pay for someone else's wrong. The answer is simple. We committed the crime as a group, let's pay back as a group. A substantial amount should be paid, but not from any one individual. It should be paid by something which everyone owns, like a church or even a city or even the federal government. Groups and individuals don't clash. We are clearly both individuals and groups, and they work together. Now let's talk about a debate with a little lower temperature. People are suffering on social media. Depression is up, suicide is up. Why? Because people compare themselves to what they see on social media, and somebody always has something that they don't. a better body, a better boyfriend, a better party. Now and again, someone who hasn't learned Kabbalah hits on the upper unity anyway. And in this case, it's Tony Robbins, because he talks about how we make the rules in our head. If you stub your toe and you curse, it's because you have a rule in your head that when you feel pain, you curse. The solution to all the social media depression is to put into place a better rule. These kids have a rule that they are not happy unless they have everything everyone seems to have on social media and more. But as the upper unity, which is totally flexible, he realized that the rule could be, I'm happy whenever I'm on social media because I like what I posted. A simple change in rule reveals the unlimited part of yourself, and now you can go and play with your rules. You can now dance around putting on different rules and taking them off. Someone like Tony Robbins made a rule that they'll be happy when you wiggle your toe. Now that's playing with your rules. Flexible emotions that can go any which way, but realize, please, that I'm not happy until I have what they have is a destructive rule that you can change. A rule that leads you down a dark road where you can really be happy, a little overweight by yourself, watching TV, just making a rule that I'm happy when I'm watching TV. Speaking of personal development, let's tackle something else. People often debate about high and low expectations. Should I expect little, so whatever I get is a gift? Or should I expect much because believing in myself will take me far in life? The upper unity says both. You're flexible. Dance. When something good happens, you can activate your low expectations and how much gratitude you have for it. And before a big meeting, you can believe with all your heart that you're going to win in the meeting, because that's the appropriate thing to think then. Visualize it. But if you lose, you go back to your low expectations and you're grateful that you even made it on the team. You can switch around and dance around knowing that you can make yourself happy anytime, depending on how you think. Let's talk about addiction. Addiction is very serious, and I'm not going to claim that I have the answer to it. But I have the path towards the answer. I have had urges in my life that I believe were like the urges of an addict, and it was hell. Basically, every second was a battle to not have that thing. So you have to win a battle every second. And it gets harder every second because it's a second further away from the last time you had it. I don't think people realize how difficult that is and what heroes recovering addicts are. They are at war constantly. How can you win every single battle all day long? First of all, get the thing out of your eyesight, because the Torah says the eye sees and the heart pines. Get the cake out of your house, call your dealer and say, I hate you, I don't ever want you to give me anything again. But what does the upper unity say? It says you can win as many battles as you want to win. You are flexible, you are unlimited, you are an unlimited being with free choice. That means you can actually win 1,000 battles, and you must. And the more battles you win, the more your free choice starts to reveal itself, and the battles get easier and easier. Free choice is the upper unity. I know this isn't enough to solve an addiction. I don't have all the answers, but we can put our heads together and see how we can achieve the goal of winning 1,000 battles, because that is really what must be done, which will seem impossible, but it isn't. Another way to implement the upper unity is to look to science to help. Science can do anything, right? So focus on this. Find out what makes addicts' brains different and use neuroplasticity to change it. To change something shows you're using the upper unity. Now let's talk about divorce. Every year the divorce rates go higher and higher. Marriage is a message of unconditional love, and yet so many marriages are filled with toxicity instead of love. What does that upper unity have to say? It says you can love whatever you want as much as you want. You just have to have these rules we spoke about earlier. When my wife does this, I get angry. Throw out the rule book, throw it in the fire, because from now on, your only rule is to love this with all my heart, no matter what the heck happens. That's what marriage is, unconditional love. And if you're not ready to play that game, don't get married. If you don't think you can keep up to a rule like that, start small. Overlook small things. Slowly, your free choice will shine through. Now let's talk about adultery, one of the most destructive forces to society and is becoming more common every single year. This is similar to addiction. You have a visceral urge to do something with someone other than your spouse. You will have to win that battle over and over again to keep yourself from doing this destructive activity. What does the upper unity have to say? It says you and your husband are one. That means you can see things from his perspective. Therefore, you can think to yourself, how would I like it if he cheated on me? What emotions would that bring up for me? Really picture that. How will betrayal feel? If you're able to step outside your limited perspective and embrace the upper unity, you can see his perspective or her perspective, and that will keep you far from adultery and hopefully put you on a path towards fixing your marriage so the entire urge to separate yourself from your spouse goes away. What about weight loss? Again, the upper unity would place the burden on science. Because science can do anything, they can dance. Why can't they make cake that tastes like cake and also gives you the right nutrients? Right now, they're working on how to make food more addictive. So just flip that around. Science can do anything. We all know that. They put a man on the moon. They can do this if they focus on it. My mentor, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, was a world-class engineer and a Torah genius. And he's the one I owe a debt of gratitude to for these solutions. It is my great hope that this video will find its way to the people who need to hear it most. Please, please share this video with whoever you can because we need unity and we need it yesterday. We can make a world that is oozing with goodness, oozing with godliness, true godliness. We call it the messianic era. And may this video spur the Messiah to come and bring us miracles and show how all the world is under the dominion of the upper unity and can do anything. And may we all hold hands together, atheists and theists, whites and blacks, liberals and conservatives, gun nuts and pacifists, and husbands and wives for an unconditionally loving unity that will only grow and grow until the Messiah is here and the messianic era of paradise begins. Amen. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and please leave a comment about what you thought. God bless.